everybody. It's Picks and Props Week 5. Guys, we're almost a quarter of the way through the season. Pretty good start to the season. I'm loving it. This week, some pretty wild games. The Baltimore Ravens, can they not hold on to a lead? And I just want to really crow about the Kansas City Chiefs. I have a fun fact actually about that game. Ben, this actually goes to what we were chatting about earlier. So when scoring at least 31 points before this particular Sunday night game with the Chiefs, Tom Brady was 125-4 when scoring at least 31 points. He was a loser on Sunday scoring 31 points. Now those 31 points were a little misleading as a lot of them came in garbage time. But I think what that underscores is that Tom is used to having things go his way. And when things don't go his way, perhaps he's not as good as other times. I know the Brady fans are going to all come after me. So please send a message to Ben O'Connell at NFL_PPP, and he can handle those for me. Guys, any impressions on week 4 before we look at our results from week 4?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm just going to say one thing. I had one takeaway from my 49ers game, and that is that Jimmy Garoppolo is the best quarterback in the NFL. And I don't think there's much of an argument here. I mean, he's so consistent. And Deebo Samuel, the playmaking ability on that guy, I'm ecstatic.
Your Deebo point would probably have a little more oomph behind it if you hadn't led with the Jimmy G point. I think you don't destroy your credibility right before you say something that might be credible.
Personally, I don't even know that. Was there even a week 4 in the NFL? I don't know. I'm always a man that likes to move forward in life and to look forward to the future. Can't dwell on the past. It's better to act like the past doesn't exist sometimes. You know what I mean? You feel me, Broncos country. Right.
Well, the past definitely does exist for the Broncos. I'm not sure their future exists, but the past does. Yes, we'd be remiss to say that I am obviously not a Broncos fan, but I hate to see somebody as young and as talented as Javonte Williams go down like that. It's a very complicated 3-ligament injury. He's going to have a very tough road back, and it sucks for anybody who enjoys football and enjoys good players, because he certainly has been one, was just starting to scratch the surface of his talent. So that was definitely a bummer. But the show must go on, and you got Russ. You still got Russ.
First the Queen, now Javonte Williams. Doth God have no mercy?
Well, it comes in 3, so we can only wonder who it is next, though. Let's all
don't put that juju in
the Who's Kyle jinxing here? What's going on?
All right. Well, so last week, let's take a look at how things shape up in our season standings here. So Tommy, you lost your favorite pick of the week. That was, in fact, you jumped on the Detroit Lions. They were a favorite for the first time in almost 2 years. And you jumped on them, and that didn't pan out. But well done on the double on the Arizona Cardinals, although you did have to get kind of talked into that double. But it counts.
Actually, triple, because you got to take my game pick was also the Cardinals. So.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Thanks for the correction. You won $101 off of that money line bet on the Cardinals, so you are now only down $199. That looks a little better than that 300, that big fat 300 that we just saw last week. So
progress is progress.
Good on you there. Yes, progress is progress, and I think actually because of that, you have earned. Yeah, you've earned the jackpot sound.
I'm just rolling in the money right now,
and we may not hear that for you for a while. So it's good to get that
rolling
in here this week. Ben, you nailed your favorite because you went with the Kansas City Chiefs, and you can't go wrong betting on the Kansas City Chiefs. Good job there. I'll be sending you some Chiefs gear in the mail here after the show. You did, however, though you told us something a couple of weeks ago. Anytime you're getting plus money on the Denver Broncos, you take them on the money line. You were getting plus money, plus 123, which is a nice amount to get. And they did not actually come through in that game.
Thanks, Melvin Gordon. Thanks, Melvin Gordon. You're gonna kill it this year. All the
it's funny because back when Gordon was a Charger, I think we both benefited greatly from his fumbles. And now that he's a Bronco, you are not loving them nearly as much.
Hashtag let's ride.
The enthusiasm in your voice is intoxicating. So you are now back in the red on your money line. So not great, but it's you're right. You're kind of breaking even. Well, after 4 weeks, only down $15. We'll call that as close.
You guys spend money to make money. We'll be back.
Okay. All right. Yep. I jumped on that Green Bay Packers nonsense, and boy, what's going on there? We'll talk about them obviously coming up here later in the show. So I have continued to lose on all my favorite picks, but I continue to be undefeated in my top dog because the Ravens, even though they absolutely blew that game at the end, they only lost by 3, which was the point spread. And I did nail my money line pick on the Atlanta Falcons at plus 104. I am now $274 ahead on our money lines for the week. And so my scores, my records aren't great, but I'm digging the money line right now. So as we move on to week 5, because I know, Ben, you're forward thinking.
Short-term memory.
We are going to play a game to see which one of you will present your games first, and then later on you'll make your first top dog and favorite picks. Today's game is going to be it's related to the wonderful world of Billy Zappi. So when Billy Zappi came in and played that game, he got to play against the Green Bay Packers in his first career game. Billy Zappi becomes the first rookie in 2022 to throw a touchdown pass. If you had that on your bingo card, go ahead and give yourself a high five. But so I thought a lot about this. It's like I had never heard of Billy Zappi prior to this, even though he was a Western Kentucky guy. In fact, he set the record. I don't know if you guys have seen these numbers. He had 62 touchdown passes last year, over 5,700 passing yards. Billy Zappi. Turns out he's the greatest college quarterback in the history of football. Anyway, I was thinking, well, you know what? These are guys getting a paycheck to be a quarterback in the National Football League. I should know their names. You guys should know their names. So we are going to play Know Your Third String Quarterbacks. I am going to say the name of a quarterback who is a third stringer. This is according to the official depth charts on Football Outsiders. And then we are going to match them to a team. I will say a name, and you will tell us who they play for. All right? Pretty easy. I thought about saying out the name or the name of the team, and then you guys filling in who the third string quarterback was. That sounded a little more difficult, so we're going to go ahead and do it this way. Tommy, you are up first since we are in an odd numbered week. And Tommy, you won the first 2 games. You won week 1, week 2. You've now lost week 3 and week 4. So let's see if you can't turn those fortunes around.
Come on.
All right. Your first quarterback is Shane Buechele. Shane Buechele is a third string quarterback in the National Football League. He is getting a paycheck from a pro football team.
Wow.
Shane Buechele. Which team signs his checks?
I need to study up on my third string quarterbacks. I'm gonna go on a whim and say something, I don't know, like the Chargers. I have no idea.
You know what? I've got I'm excited about this because we've been doing a buzzer for when you miss it, but I've got a new little feature. I get down these rabbit holes for these sound bites. So here is the answer.
No.
Yeah, no. He's not a San Diego Charger or a Los Angeles Charger. He is a Kansas City Chief. He is the third-string quarterback of the Chiefs, undrafted out of Southern Methodist University. All right. I am nervous that we're not going to get any right answers here. So let's move on. Ben, prove me wrong.
Watch this.
All right. This next quarterback, Bryce Perkins.
Bryce Perkins.
Bryce Perkins is an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Who does he play for?
Obviously, Bryce Perkins, the quarterback we all know and love, plays for that football team known as the football team with the players. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens.
No.
Bryce Perkins is the third-string quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, an undrafted free agent in 2020 out of Virginia. All right, my worst fears are being realized. Let's see here.
Are we going to go multiple choice maybe?
Back to you, Tommy. Easton Stick.
I know this name.
Easton Stick is the third-string quarterback in question. Who is his team?
Oh, I know this name. I just have no idea where he plays.
You will know why you know his name when we explain who he is. Yes.
Oh, this is tough. Can you give me like a division? I don't know.
He's in the AFC.
AFC?
He's in the AFC.
I'm gonna throw out an AFC team and say that Stick is on. I'm just gonna say the Jets because I can't think of anything.
Okay.
No.
Easton Stick is the third-round quarterback or third-string quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers.
No. No.
He was a fifth-round pick out of North Dakota State in 2019. He was the quarterback that preceded Trey Lance. He won 4 national championships at North Dakota State, and then Trey Lance took over for him after he graduated and became an NFL quarterback.
And I love FCS
That's why
football.
That's perhaps why you know his name.
You may also know his last name because lacrosse players use sticks.
That is an excellent point.
I got you there, Tommy. Don't even worry.
Smartest man alive.
Let me find somebody on my list. So, well, I don't want to make this easy because this would be a win for you. So let's go with Will Greer. Who does Will Greer play for?
No, this is ridiculous.
Now, Will Greer has played in the NFL. He's actually been in live games. So
the 49ers.
Will Greer is a Dallas Cowboy. He was a third-round pick by the Carolina Panthers in 2019. He actually played when he was a Panther.
He had to give me one that I knew that one.
He is now a Dallas Cowboy.
It's just going off of Tommy's reaction. It's a problem.
We are 0 for 4.
Stringer.
All right. Tommy, to you, Skylar Thompson.
Skylar's Miami Dolphins.
Well, that deserves a bell. Yes, Skylar Thompson, the 7th-round draft pick out of Kansas State this year, is the third-string quarterback with the Miami Dolphins. And so, Ben, you're going to need this to extend this scintillating game. Otherwise, Tommy will. All right. So I am going to come at you with a guy that you probably have heard of, but do you know which team he's on currently? Jake Luton.
Jake Luton
is a third-string quarterback for whom?
Plays for the Minnesota Vikings.
No.
Jake Luton is with the New Orleans Saints. He has played for many teams, but he has not played for the Minnesota Vikings. In fact, he was drafted by the Jaguars in 2020 out of Oregon State. And just since 2020, he has played for the Jags, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Jags again, and now he is a New Orleans Saint. So, Tommy Birch, you have stopped the losing streak. You are today's winner. Well done. You know your third-string quarterbacks better than, better than probably anybody else. Because who knows? Who cares about third-string quarterbacks?
Hey,
anyway,
don't disrespect the third stringers. This is the
you're
Warriors
right.
right there.
You're right. I apologize. So let's get our ticker going. Let's get you set up in the fancy box, and you get to begin with your picks. Your first game, please.
All right, let's start it off. First game, Giants versus Green Bay. I'm picking the Giants +8 here. And you know what? I picked the Giants. They fail me. I picked the Packers. They fail me too. But one thing I know about the Giants so far this year is that they keep games close. And it doesn't haven't had incredible competition, but the competition they have had they've kept it within like a 3-point range, in the +8, especially with Green Bay almost losing to a third string Bailey Zapp. I got to stick with the Giants here.
Well, and it's worth noting, this is the first time the Packers have ever gone to London. That change in routine, they've never done this before. Aaron Rodgers has never done this before. The Giants have. So it'll be really interesting to see how the Packers handle this for a first time. There was some good news. Daniel Jones sounds like at least the Giants are expecting him to play on Sunday after his bum ankle. And I look, I love the way Saquon Barkley is playing. So yeah, I'm with you. I like the Giants to cover this 8-point spread.
Here's my thing though, is like Bailey Zappi is at least, a quarterback. With Daniel Jones being cleared to play. I'm still nervous, You gotta be nervous. And then if he's gone, who do you got? We're gonna go Saquon out of the Wildcat. Listen, crazier things have happened. But I have a little bit of timidness there,
Timidity.
I was thinking that same word, but I wasn't sure if it was a real word. So
I have no clue. Either way, I think the bigger factor that people aren't talking about definitely is the travel, because going to London is a big deal. All the international games that Green Bay's played in has been Canada, and then they played in the Tokyo preseason back in the 90s. The infrastructure for these international games has become a rhythm for all these other organizations, except for the Packers, who have wanted to stay because they don't want to lose a home game. I think that ultimately will be a big thing. Aaron Rodgers has never played in Europe. That's something that we aren't talking about. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the known quantity for Green Bay, and he's going to somewhere where you could say that he's becoming an unknown quantity, So ultimately, even though I am scared at +8, I think I have to ride with y'all.
One other little fun fact about this game. This is the 32nd game to be played in London. This is the first time two teams with a winning record are meeting. So that's kind of fun. We're finally letting the Londoners see a good game.
Happened on accident. The Giants weren't supposed to be good.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think the last thing I have to say about this game is with the Patriots playing against Green Bay, and I hate to go back to that game, they did rely on the run game with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. And, I think Bailey only threw 13 passes. I mean, Daniel Jones is a serviceable passer. And they trust him with the ball. So that paired with Saquon as their run game that they can heavily rely on. I mean, I trust that over Ramondre and Damian Harris. Yeah. So I just have a good feeling about this game for the Giants.
Just be careful if you're going to go bet on Saquon yards. The guy had 31 carries last week, also was running it out of the Wildcat due to the quarterback situation. With the flight to London, you don't know where the rest is going to be. You don't know how physically he's going to be feeling. I feel like the line might be a little high. Just be careful and wary of that. Don't get sucked in just to a big name.
All right, excellent. Tommy, moving on to your next game. Who do you have?
Lions versus New England. I'm picking the Lions +3 here. It makes me chuckle a little bit. Even if Mac Jones does come back, the Lions are statistically one of, if not the best offense in the NFL so far this year. And pitting them against one of, if not the worst defenses in the NFL. Sorry, not defenses, offenses. The New England defense is all right, but one of the worst offenses in the NFL is not a good matchup. And although the Lions defense is quite god awful, they're not playing against heavy competition in that regard. So I feel like the Lions offense is going to just overpower New England's defense for this W. And I think them being underdogs in this game is criminal.
Well, and they scored 45 points last week. That was the first time since 2014 that they'd scored that many points, and they did that without DeAndre Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, and they're still not practicing yet, but with this, that just shows the resiliency of this offense. They can lose their two best weapons, and they still put up 45 points on not a terrible Seattle defense. I mean, that Seattle defense looked pretty good against the Denver Broncos. So,
Yeah, but Jared Goff had to relapse on that pick six, so it looked like the Jared Goff of old, and it scared me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, but I agree with you that this Lions offense is really fun to watch.
The Lions are super fun, especially given the fact that they are finding the success without the weapons like you were talking about, Kyle. Because I think that everyone was kind of like, when you saw those two key playmakers get hurt, everyone was kind of holding their breath, going like, "Oh, that might be the Lions' season right there." The Lions are really personifying the word grit, like they were trying to, like Coach Campbell was talking about in Hard Knocks. I think that they have a really good thing going. I like them at +3.
All right, Tommy, moving on to your next game.
It's an ugly game, but I have to talk about it. It got assigned to me randomly. So the Titans versus the Commanders, and I'm going to pick the Titans -2.5 here. And just to preface, I don't like either of these teams at all. I think they both played decent competition, but they might be two of the hardest teams to read in the NFL right now. I want to know how good either of these teams will end up being, but there isn't much to say. Carson has played worse and worse every single week. First week he looked like the NFL MVP Carson Wentz that we were about to see before he got hurt, and then now he just looks like Carson Wentz. And the Titans just came off 2 straight wins, but their 2 losses didn't look very good. But I think the Commanders just plain and simple just look worse than the Titans. So the Titans -2.5.
My only caution here is the Titans did come off a win. They had 243 total yards in that win. I've got the numbers here. They passed for 116 yards, ran for 127. They were actually one of 5 teams to get wins on Sunday that rushed for more than they passed for. That's not sustainable. They've also lost Treylon Burks now to a turf toe. He's going to be gone for a couple weeks. Look, I agree with you. The Commanders are god awful. This game is like a 13-10 boring nonsense. Who cares? I'll go stare at the wall for 3 hours. 2.5 is obviously, it's kind of just to pick them. It's a field goal game, but man, I don't like either team. I don't like this game. Both teams could outsuck the other one and lose. So I'm avoiding it completely.
I'm not betting this game. I'm not watching this game. I'm not. I would rather watch the Raiders beat the Broncos again than watch this game. Whatever happened last week. Don't ask statement. Don't ask the reasoning. I just like pain and suffering, and at least that makes me feel something. This is just going to be like, what's happening, man? Listen, this is what I'll say, though. I do think that due to what Kyle was saying with the running and stuff being so heavy so early in the year, that's really concerning. Like that, like Kyle said, it's definitely not sustainable. I definitely think that the Commanders actually have a comeback game here. I think that they win. I don't know how much by. It's 2 bad teams. Stay away from the spread. If you're gonna bet this, why would you? But if you're going to, I would say money like Washington.
And in all honesty, these are like 2 of the most inconsistent teams too. Like you look at Ryan Tannehill, the guy looks like he should be one of those clipboard warriors we were talking about before, and then he looks like he should be like a decent starting quarterback just 1 out of his 3 weeks, and he goes back to sucking, or he goes back to being serviceable. It's just a light switch with that one. So it's so hard to pick, and I'm keeping my hands off this game in every regard.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That's the most we're going to ever talk about the Commanders this season, I hope. Moving on to your next game, a much better game than that game.
Yes, I like this game a lot, actually. The Chargers and the Browns. I'm picking the Chargers -3. And, I think the Browns are surprising a lot of people. I'll give them credit. The team's pretty good, even with Brissett at quarterback. Brissett actually looks serviceable. He could be a decent starting quarterback for this team until Watson gets back. However, they are playing one of the best offenses in football, and I mean, we were worried about Justin Herbert's health last week, and then he plays like that. So I have no doubt in him whatsoever. I think his phenomenal play, and this is just one game that I think the Browns just can't keep up. And Chargers -3. I mean, if it was -5, -6, maybe I'd be a little more lenient. But the -3 is just so nice. It's just like juicy. It's just waiting for me. So I'll take it.
So, I have a completely different feel about this game. Watching Dameon Pierce run against the Chargers last week, and the Chargers, it started bringing back memories of this Chargers team that couldn't stop the run last year. I love Nick Chubb against this defense. Chubb is on pace for over 1,900 yards and 21 touchdowns, and I think Chubb has a big game. Brissett's played very well, and when you've got and we've got Kareem Hunt, who's also on pace for over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. I like those two guys to dominate the line of scrimmage. The Chargers aren't going to, without Bosa, their pass rush isn't going to be very good. I see the Browns, they're at home. Yeah, they lost to the Falcons last week, but the Falcons are a plucky team. I think at some point the Rashawn Slater injury, the Joey Bosa injury, those are going to come back and cost the Chargers a couple of games. I think this is one of those games.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I think that I'm honestly kind of surprised that the Browns are underdogs here. I like their run game against this Chargers defense, and I also just like the fact that, that sounds bad, but I like the Browns to be able to take advantage of how banged up the LA Chargers are, and the fact that they're still going to be trying to get their rhythm, filling in new guys, and guys are getting more reps on the defensive side there. Yeah, I kind of like the Browns here.
I do I do think that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, together, specifically Nick Chubb, they're gonna have incredible games, especially against this Chargers team. But I think that the Browns don't have that much flexibility in the passing game. They do have some because Brissett's playing pretty well, but he is a transition quarterback. I'm not gonna go out and say he's a good starting quarterback. He's okay. And it gives them a little bit of flexibility to, stack the box a little bit, maybe throw in an extra linebacker, fill some gaps a little better. I think that, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are going to have great games, but I just don't think it's going to keep up with the firepower on Chargers offense.
Well, to your point, right now at the time that we're recording this, there's been no definitive word on whether Garrett or Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney will play. And if those guys are out again, which they are likely to be out again, then obviously the pass rush for the Browns defense takes a big hit. So we'll see. It's going to be a good game either way. I'm looking forward to watching it. All right. Your final game of Sunday.
The last game. All right. Ravens versus Bengals. This is probably, as of right now, this is probably my game of the weekend. I really like the Ravens and I really like the Bengals. Well, I really like the Bengals when they play against bad pass rushing defenses, because when they play against not very good pass rushing defenses, they look incredible. However, the Bengals defense is okay. I don't have anything special to say about them. That might be wrong of me, but Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense is going to shred them apart. And I think that Lamar's gonna have time in the pocket, and when he gets out of the pocket, he's just gonna make plays. And you know what? The Ravens look really good. And, I think the Buffalo game was a bit of a fluke for Lamar. Buffalo is one of the most well-rounded and best teams in the NFL. But every other game this season that you've seen so far, Lamar's got that itch to win, the urge. He's not going to go 1 week and then just let it slide. I think this is his redemption game.
My concern about the Ravens is that they've now blown big leads 2 weeks in a row. And I was writing about it this week. To lose big leads like that, two things have to happen. Your defense has to obviously collapse, but your offense has to also stop scoring. The Ravens have jumped out to big leads on both the Dolphins and the Bills, and then they allowed that to go away because they stopped scoring. Lamar has been fantastic. I think that probably the Ravens covered this 3-point spread, but I'm nervous by the last 2 weeks. After week 2, I had the Ravens as the easy division winner and one of the best teams in the league. The last 2 weeks has made me question that defense and why is the offense shutting itself down in the second half, especially this last game against the Bills, where they were so good in the first half and then they did absolutely nothing in the second half. I don't think your pick is wrong, but the Ravens do have me nervous.
I think that the Bengals win this game. It says a lot more about where the Bengals are at this point this season. I feel like the Baltimore Ravens, though they aren't stacking the wins and letting the leads get from them, um, I think that we have a good idea of who the Baltimore Ravens are. I think there's been a lot of consistency questions with Cincinnati. They obviously didn't start hot like we thought they would. They struggled against the Miami Dolphins. I think that they played a good game. They had a good control, but I think that there were definitely there were moments where they should have been able to take advantage more, especially given that Tua's vicious injury that occurred earlier in the game. So Teddy was in there for a minute. All of that being said, I do like the Ravens, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Bengals pulled this out and said, hey, we are still that team from last year. But off of what I've seen so far this year, I think I'm going to have to start with the Baltimore Ravens.
One more note to add about the Bengals. They allowed 14 sacks the first 2 weeks, only 3 sacks these last 2 weeks. So whatever porous problems they were having on the offensive line, they've somewhat fixed those. Of course, the first 2 weeks they were facing the Steelers and Cowboys, so that may have also inflated those numbers. And Tommy, you actually have your prop of the week from this game. Do you want to get to that?
Yes, I do. And this is a bit of a scary prop, but it's just something about it just makes me just I'm excited.
Well, it's the month of Halloween, baby. Dive into the scary, yeah.
You know what? We're spooky today. And you know what? I think that Ravens, although the Ravens front seven is not up to par, I think their secondary is. Their secondary has played pretty well the last couple of weeks, and they might be one of the better secondaries in the NFL. That might be a stretch, but it's just, my opinion. I think Joe Burrow doesn't get past the 250-yard mark. It's plus 140. That's a good payout. It's really enticing. And I still think that Joey's going to have a good game. I think it's going to be a good maybe 240, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick type game for him. But I don't think he's going to hit that 255.
I don't have these numbers in front of me, and I don't know that these numbers exist. But I feel like that after Marcus Peters has a run-in with his coach, he always comes off and has a big game, like a pick six or something, following a coaching fight. So the fact that he went after Harbaugh last week makes me think that Peters is going to have a big game, and that feeds right into your prop bet. I have no idea if the numbers exist for that at all, but I just like it.
Joe Burrow is going to have 274 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sorry, friend, it's not going to happen.
Oh.
It's a very specific number. If you get this right,
get this, hey, this is the call of the century.
No, we're saving we're saving the tape. We'll send it into the NFL Hall of Fame if you get this right.
Jeez.
All right, Ben, it is now up to you. You've got your 5 games to bring us.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Chicago at Minnesota. Listen, I'll keep it brief because the Bears suck, and I hate talking about them. I was watching the Chicago Bears game because that's what I get on my TV here. Unfortunately, yeah, that's what happens when you live in Chicago. You're forced to watch the Bears play. I don't know why they do it. There's lots of children here, and it seems inhumane. However, that's the world we live in. I watched the Chicago Bears offense for 3 drives before turning off the TV. It was the most uninspired at best, uncreative at worst. You know what I mean? Like, at the worst, you just have a dude that is just going super simple and it doesn't want to take shots. It's just so conservative. And at best, you have a guy who maybe understands that he's not taking shots. I don't know. Minnesota, I think, has had a rocky season. This tends to be around the point where Kirk Cousins reminds or tricks Viking fans into thinking that they like him. So I think that this is going to be one of those games. Minnesota has one of those standout games. We think that they're better than they are, but then we just remember that they're playing the Bears. Probably won by a couple scores. I like Minnesota at home -7.
Yeah, I'm worried about the Vikings. We were all over them after their first game, and they looked fantastic. Justin Jefferson looked fantastic. He obviously had a big game this last week, but all of the people that were injured for the Saints, I mean, they were missing Winston and Kamara and Michael Thomas, and they were literally an inch away from winning that game. Will Lutz nearly hits his second consecutive 60-yard field goal in the last 2 minutes of the game. The Vikings should have lost that game, and there's no reason at all that they should have not won that game by 3 touchdowns based on who New Orleans had healthy. So I just don't. I'm worried about the Vikings. Not the Bears are not a test, but moving forward, I just don't know what to expect from the Minnesota Vikings. I think that there are going to be a couple times this year where they lay some giant eggs, and probably it's not going to be against a Chicago team. But man, they make me nervous. I just don't know what to think about them.
And riding off what Kyle said, I think this Minnesota team can be very inconsistent at times, but it's hard to be inconsistent against a team as bad as Chicago. And I think that even if you are inconsistent against this team, they're going to give you a lot of leeway to come back and renew those mistakes. And I don't know if the Chicago offense being simple has to do with the offensive coordinator just not knowing how to do his job, or if it has to do with the fact that their weapons make it so limited. And I don't know if we're not seeing all of, Justin Fields' potential, but maybe he just isn't good. And
I was reading Fields has been pressured on 48% of his dropbacks, which is by far the most in the NFL. So while he has definitely not developed, there are problems all over that team that are affecting the offense and Fields.
He needs to demand a trade. Chicago is the graveyard for quarterback careers. I think that he has all of the talent and the skill. I think that he's just in a horrible situation. And unlike what happened in Jacksonville, I don't think that there is going to be a switch. I don't think that there is going to be, a good change at home for Fields. And he's going to be going into his, third year? And two coaches that have done diddly squat for him. I think that for his career, he should be looking to leave Chicago. I don't get what Chicago's doing. I get that the team's been around forever, but the football's evolved and they have not gotten the message.
And you know what? Justin Fields, he has a really high ceiling, but he has a pretty low floor. But right now, it just feels like Chicago is building him a basement right now. It's just giving him no room to succeed.
Well, Tommy, you're not playing the offensive line. Maybe reach out to GM Ryan Poles and see, what if you could help out, because
let me get a tryout.
They need football players.
If they care about building up their roster as much as they care about building up this new stadium, they'll talk to Tommy Birch. I'll tell you what.
Sign me now.
All
contract.
Right. All right, excellent. Our chatter about the Bears has gotten Tommy his first NFL gig. I'm excited. All right, moving on, because we don't need to keep talking about the Chicago Bears.
Next game is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Buffalo Bills. Let me lay down an amazing little groundwork for you. Kenny Pickett. Good old bacon slides, Kenny Pickett. He's going to come in and make the Steelers fan base fall in love with the hometown kid. He's going to come through in a big way. He's gonna have the game for the people before laying the big biggest egg in a career that the Steelers aren't ready for. But tell you what, this game is going to be the one they all point back to and go, remember when Kenny was good against the Bills? We remember that in 2022. You guys remember that in his first draft? Oh my goodness, he was so good. That's what they're going to be talking about. That's this game. They only lose by 10 max, okay? Take the Steelers plus 14. Right with the kid. He's trying.
I just got one question. So you think that the Titans losing by that much isn't going to translate to the Steelers with Kenny Pickett, who, I mean, I get it. Hometown hero. I like the story. The story is great. But in reality, did he not throw 3 picks last week? Am I wrong about that statistic?
Now,
hey, it was his first time seeing the field. He was just getting the nerves out.
I'm not the president of the Kenny Pickett fan club, but I do want to come to his defense a little bit because, one of those interceptions was the Hail Mary at the end of the game, and we shouldn't count those. The first one was the long pass to Chase Claypool, and I love that his very first NFL pass, he saw Chase Claypool 50 yards downfield, and he said, I'm going for it. I love the stones that takes, as opposed to all these other guys who make their very first pass, this little 6-yard dump or to the running back or something out to the flat. He went for it on his first NFL pass. I dug it. It didn't go well, but I love it. I love just the attitude. It shows trust in his guys. And look, this is a tough game. Obviously, this is not the opponent that you necessarily want for your first NFL start, but the Bills are still banged up on defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers cover this spread because you can get thoroughly dominated and only lose by 10 to 13 points.
Plus 14 is a really big number.
It's
I get number. Like I do. I mean, it's almost a guarantee. I feel like I could put like some of my life on the line for the Bills to win this game, but the spread at 14 is just is that the biggest we've seen so far?
This year, yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's just. That's tough. I mean, I'm not really much of a Pickett believer this week. I think that he could be good, but I mean, I guess sure. I got nothing.
Hey, the Kenny Pickett era has begun, so at least Mitchell Trubisky's not going to be throwing passes. That's a good thing.
MVP.
Great mediocre 3 years for Pittsburgh.
All right, moving on. You've got
kind
of a feisty game.
Yeah, I got the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets. And let me tell you what. So I was watching the end of the Dolphins and the Bengals. I was watching Teddy just kind of slice up the middle of the field. He was just slicing up the middle, the back secondary, the middle of the middle of the back secondary of the defense. He was just surgically, cutting it like a steak. Now, the Jets absolutely suck at covering the middle of the field is in their defensive secondary. And I think that Teddy Bridgewater just comes in and has a game that makes us go, wow, Teddy should be a starter. But in reality, it's the Jets defense, the secondary in the middle. Watch it. There will be 2 touchdowns that happen right there. He's gonna find Tyreek Hill over the middle. It's gonna be fabulous to watch. Miami -3.5.
It's gonna be like a Ryan Fitzpatrick, like Tampa Bay sub-in type of game where he just goes absolutely ballistic on the Jets defense because the Jets defense isn't great. So it's just I totally agree with you. I just think that Zach Wilson might put up a bit of a fight, but -3.5 with I've loved Teddy B. I always have. I mean, it's a little bit biased. I just think I played with him in Madden, so I liked him a lot. And the double glove man, love him. So I could see this going either way, to be honest with you. But I mean, I'm very hopeful.
Well, I love the Zach Wilson experience. He caught a touchdown pass last week. He then did the gritty. I'm sure that the entire state of Utah was like, what in the world is that? He then threw a couple of the worst passes you'll ever see. And then he led the game-winning touchdown drive. So you got in one 60-minute period, we got all of that Zach Wilson has to offer. I hope he does it again this week. It is a roller coaster, and I get down on my knees every day and thank God that he didn't make me a Jets fan, because I can't imagine what that must be like. But as an outside observer, I am looking forward to Zach Wilson trying to pull this one out of the fire. I'm sure it's going to be very much like what you say, Ben, where there's going to be some big touchdowns over the middle of the field. Tyreek Hill does lead the league in yards receiving, so another 100 plus and a touchdown doesn't feel ridiculous at all. And I just want the ball in Zach's hands in the fourth quarter with a chance to win it, so we can watch what happens.
Two things really quickly. I don't want to talk about this game too much more, but one, consolation to the New York Jets. Sauce Gardner seems to be the dude. He's a stud. Like I said, Jets are bad at covering the inside. The outside is covered. They have got that figured out. And then the other thing is, I didn't have it as my prop. The prop came out right before we started recording. Teddy Bridgewater passing touchdowns is 1.5. That's like the market value. I would hammer the over. I think he's going to tear up the middle of the field.
Yeah, the Jets rookie class from this past draft, they really are all playing really well. Breece Hall got that game-winning touchdown. As you mentioned, Sauce looks like he looks like the next Patrick Surtain. I mean, in terms of great young cornerbacks, he's a lot of fun to watch. All right, but yes, that is enough Jets talk. Let's move on to your next game, and a surprising spread on this game, I think.
Yeah, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks at the New Orleans Saints. At Seattle plus 5.5, kind of confused. Jameis Winston did not practice today. So early indications would be it's probably Andy Dalton back there. Also, Geno Smith had a hell of a freaking week.
He was NFC Player of the Week. I mean, he was amazing.
How did that happen?
You guys remember when Geno Smith first entered the NFL, and there's like, hey man, this guy's gonna tear it up, and then and now he's tearing it up. I like it. I think that he's gonna continue to tear it up, so much so that my prop bet is here. I have Geno Smith throwing for over 1.5 touchdowns. That's at plus 130. You know what?
Last week,
everyone wrote him off. He's gonna. He didn't stop. He didn't
write him back.
He didn't write, and he still has it, and he's gonna take it to the bank at over plus 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like Seahawks at plus 5.5.
I saw a fun Geno stat today. In weeks 1, week 2, his average depth in comparison to the first down marker was between 3 and 4 yards short of that, and the league average is 1 yard short of that. In week 3 and week 4, he's going beyond the marker and was actually 2 yards beyond the marker in that game against Detroit, putting him 3 yards above the league average. And you spread that out over 35 to 40 pass attempts, and all of a sudden you've got a really productive quarterback, and you've got an offense that all of a sudden Pete Carroll wants to take the shackles off and throw the ball around. I mean, who is that coach? Who is this guy? Is it septuagenarian Pete Carroll all of a sudden finding a fountain of youth and wants to throw around the rock? I love it. Look, why the Seahawks are almost a touchdown underdog to a Saints team that is super banged up and is just coming back from a trip to Europe makes zero sense to me. I love the Seahawks at plus 5.5, and I like your prop here. I think Geno is finding a rhythm right now, and the Saints aren't the team that's going to break that.
And you know what? I think I'm on board with everything that Kyle just said. And Geno has thrown 2 passing touchdowns in every game, except for his game against, my 49ers. Hate to be that guy. But I mean, the 49ers defense is their secondary is pretty good, and their pass coverage has proven to be good, and they have proved it with this last game against the Rams, and I don't think that game says anything about his ability to play quarterback, and the fact that every other game he's thrown 2 touchdowns, I don't understand why it's 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 130. It's a little bit, lenient. And then we're talking about leniency. Let's talk about that plus 5.5. They should be minus 5.5 right now. With the way they played last week against a good Detroit team, a playoff-worthy Detroit team. I cannot believe I just said that out loud.
I need the playoffs. We need that drop right now.
And just I don't know. Like, I think both of your picks are something I would say if I was making those picks. I definitely regret saying it, but I'd say it's a lock. Take the lock, throw away the key, like it's done.
Well, Ben, obviously we're all agog with your choices here. We think that you are a genius.
Thank you. I appreciate that, friends. It means a lot.
And your final game, where I also find that you have made a genius pick here. So we'll go ahead and go. You got the Monday night game at Arrowhead Stadium. You want to talk about the future Super Bowl winners here?
It's going to be a tie. Both teams are garbage, hot garbage. I hate them both. Listen, I don't want to say after the week that the Broncos have that the Raiders are trash, but let me be honest with you. The Raiders are trash. The win meant nothing. Josh McDaniels is still horrible. The Raiders still showed weakness. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes is still the greatest football player in the league right now. Look at the dude is jump throwing touchdowns. He's spreading the ball out everywhere. I think Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs team makes us all go to bed early Monday night.
That's the smartest thing I've ever heard anyone say about anything.
We're going to go to sleep early. It's going to be a 2-3 score game going into the fourth, and by the end of it, it might be more. I like the cheese.
Can I say your piece here?
Well, I mean, we thought going into this last game that the Buccaneers defense was one of the best in football. They had allowed 27 points in 3 games. They were a great defense. They got after the quarterback. Their secondary was playing great. And the Chiefs did whatever they wanted to against them. Patrick was phenomenal. Travis Kelce was phenomenal. All 3 of the Chiefs' tight ends scored touchdowns in that game. The Chiefs ran for 180 yards against the Bucs. And that defense is playing pretty well. I mean, Jarius Sneed is right now, he's the greatest blitzing cornerback we have. 3 blitzes, 2 forced fumbles. He's been fantastic. And it's the Raiders. It's Raider week. In Kansas City, it means a lot when they play the Raiders. This has been a rivalry going back to the very first AFL season. There is, as a Broncos fan, there is legitimate hatred between these teams. There is no way that the Chiefs have a letdown in this game after having beaten the Buccaneers. Maybe if it was a lesser opponent, but not against the Raiders. They hate this team. They want to beat this team. And Andy Reid versus Josh McDaniels, Patrick Mahomes versus Derek Carr. It's hardly a fair fight. Chiefs big, obviously. I
have a prediction for this week. I think I wish there was like a prop bet for this, but I feel like this is going to be the week when the Josh McDaniels getting fired rumors are going to start. I don't know what the over under on that is. Like if I'm getting like plus 300, maybe plus 3,000, I'm throwing some money in there because I feel like once the Raiders lose by 40, there's going to be a lot of talk about like getting McDaniels out of there. So, well, at least one of the coaches, but I'm focusing on McDaniels because they should be good.
Well, after they lost to the Titans, that Mark Davis went and met privately with McDaniels before he had a chance to go meet the media. So right after the game, he takes his head coach into a private room and has a chat with him before he has a chance to go talk to the media. So they're not going to fire him now, but clearly there is unhappiness upstairs. And can you blame them? I mean,
I'm gonna go on
supposed to be better
SportsCenter.
than this.
I'm gonna go on SportsCenter's Instagram on Monday, and Monday, Tuesday. No, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm gonna see. There's reports that like Las Vegas players are unhappy with Josh McDaniels' performance, and I'm gonna be like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to root for anybody to be fired. That's no bueno. But
not rooting for it. I'm just predicting.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. But it's the Raiders, so let the chips fall where they may.
I'm a journalist.
All right, Ben. Thank you so much for your picks there.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know for sure that you've nailed that last one. All right, my first pick of the week is the Texans and Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars made us all believe. They jumped out to that 14-0 lead, and we're like, oh my God, it's happening. This team really is happening. Now, they're not quite ready to compete at the level of the Philadelphia Eagles, but they are more than ready to compete at the level of the Houston Texans. The Texans are not good. They just got worked by Austin Eckler and Mike Williams, so I think that means James Robinson and Christian Kirk have big games for the Jags. I was reading about Josh Allen. Josh Allen leads the league in 20 quarterback pressures through 4 weeks. He's going to have a big game against Davis Mills, and what's really a bad Texans offensive line. Tunzel's good, but nobody else on that offensive line is good. We like Damian Pearson. I think he's got a good career ahead of him, but this is a Jags team that is actually good. This is the best team in the AFC South. The Texans are the worst team in the AFC South. For only being a touchdown spread, I think what we're seeing is that bookmakers and the betting public is still having a hard time transitioning to what we know now versus what we thought we knew weeks ago or what we knew last year. And sometimes that lag takes a little while. This is an opportunity to take advantage of it. At some point, the bettors will catch up to the Jags being a good team. They're not there yet, so take advantage of it. The Jaguars are going to win this game by 10 to 14 points.
And you know what? I think that I'm a big hater in recency bias, especially when it comes to players' ability. But I feel like in this case, recency bias is important for Jacksonville because they are good. I think that the last couple of weeks have proven that, but people are just stuck in the past. And I don't know if that qualifies as recency bias, but we need a little bit more of it because, there's not much to harp on here. Jacksonville's good. Houston's bad.
Houston, statistically, is the same as the Colts. And the Colts got train wrecked to the Jacksonville Jaguars. something, lock a minus 23. I don't know. I like the Jags -7.
All right. Yeah. No reason to talk about the Texans anymore. Moving on to what I think is actually going to be a really good game. Again, the point spread that wouldn't indicate that the Bucs are favored by 8.5 in this. I think the Falcons can cover this spread. Now, I know that Cordell Patterson was just put on the IR and he's not going to play, but he missed a lot of their last week's game too. And their two rookies did a really nice job in place of him. I also think that Arthur Smith is doing a really fun job in creating an offense that works around Marcus Mariota's strengths. Again, 8.5. If this was a 6.5 point spread, I'd probably go with the Bucs. But at 8.5, I like the Falcons to keep this close. They've done a nice job. In fact, they're 4-0 against the point spread right now. And until the Falcons prove to you that they're not going to beat the point spread, there's no reason to jump off of them. I like the Falcons against a Bucs team that their offensive line is still banged up. Brady actually is on the injury report with a bad shoulder and finger. I'm sure he'll play, but he's dinged up. And right now the Bucs offense, this is as good as the Bucs offense is going to be health-wise, and they didn't look very good against the Chiefs. I think that they're not going to blow out the Falcons like the bookmakers predict. I'm going Falcons.
And you know what? I'll talk about, Tom Brady being dinged up is one thing, but I saw him on TikTok making avocado ice cream with a famous TikTok chef. And you know what? Maybe you should be focusing on football, especially after getting blown out. So I feel like Tom's not ready for this game. I think Marcus Mariota is going to shine. We're going to see Heisman Mariota once again. And you know what? Atlanta, watch them win this game.
Is Tommy suggesting that Tampa Tom has fallen out of love with football? Maybe he's fallen out in love with football. We know that he's fallen out of love with others. I just think that, I think that if Tampa wants to get back into rhythm for where their expectations were coming into the season, they need to win by over 8.5. Do I think that happens? I just don't have the confidence in that this year. This is not the Tampa Bay Bucks that we thought it was. Maybe the names on the paper this year truly are just the names on the paper. I'm with you guys. I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons plus 8.5.
And all jokes aside on this Atlanta team, I do think that they're going to cover this spread. But they find a way to make all the guys on the team, even if they're no-name guys off the bench, they give them work. They find value in them, and that's why when Cordarrelle Patterson was off the field, they were still successful, because the offense doesn't revolve around any individual skill player. They just work. It's like a motor. All the gears are oiled up and ready to move, regardless of where you are on the depth chart, and that's why I like this Atlanta team a lot.
They don't revolve around any of their skill players, but as a Kyle Pitts fantasy owner, I wouldn't hate it if they decided to revolve around him, or even just give him more than like 2 looks a game. Come on, Marcus.
I'm not allowed to play fantasy because NCAA restrictions.
Well, you're better off, because every week I see Kyle Pitts with 1 catch, and I'm like, oh, what is happening? All right.
There's always 1 catch for like 20 yards too.
Yeah, it was 25. This 1 for 25 was this last week's. Don't get me started. I'm annoyed. The next game that I have is going to be a fun quarterback battle, but in the end, there really is only one team in this game. The Philadelphia Eagles, the undefeated team in the NFL, they can beat you however they want to. They can get into a shootout with you like they beat the Detroit Lions. They can play great defense like they did against the Minnesota Vikings. They can beat you in a monsoon like they did with the Jaguars. They are a great team, and they everything about this team. I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts is the guy that we talk about, and he's the one who is getting the MVP buzz, but this is the best offensive line in football right now. Miles Sanders is having a great year. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and just a defensive unit that is doing all kinds of wonderful things on the field. This is a good team to go into Arizona. Obviously, Kyler Murray is fun, and Kyler Murray can make things happen like he's 2004 Michael Vick on Madden, but there's nobody else on the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury seems like he's just completely in over his head. I don't know how this spread isn't. This should be the 8.5-point spread. For the Eagles to only be giving 5 points. I know it's in Arizona, which actually that favors the Eagles. There's not going to be any monsoon like there was last week. It's going to be nice, comfy dome in Glendale in Arizona, and this Eagles offense is going to shine. And in fact, it's going to shine so much that I am doing my prop bet on this game. Right now, you can get a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown for 140 on a Hurts touchdown. He's scored in 3 of the 4 games this year, but I'm going to do that one better. I'm going to go for the double. I'm going to do the same game parlay. I'm going to go with a Hurts touchdown, a Miles Sanders touchdown, and that's paying me plus 450. This team is going to score at least 4 touchdowns. 2 of those touchdowns are going to those 2 guys. I'm all over the Eagles to cover that 5-point spread, and I love. I'm probably going to play both these that way because I'm getting plus money on the Hurts TD. So even if I lose on the parlay, I've still made money. So I'm going to hammer both these things, and I'm just going to sit back and watch Hurts and that Eagles offense do whatever they want against a bad Cardinals defense.
Thank you for not giving me this game, Mr. Randomizer, because it would do so much to my mental health to have to pick against the Cardinals this week after the blessing of the triple crown that they gave me last week. And you know what? I totally agree with you here. I think that what is it, -5? I think that's
-5.
That's quite lenient for one of the best teams in football. And the Cardinals haven't proven to be, as a team, anything exceptional. And Philly's just gonna go out there and play good football.
Not just not exceptional; they're a bad team.
Don't do this to me. I'm trying to give them a little bit of compliments here after the W I earned.
No, the Cardinals are a bad team.
The Cardinals are bad. I didn't want to say it, but I guess I'll have to.
I believe last week you said screw Arizona. So
no, screw Arizona, but they helped me out, so I guess screw them a little less.
All right,
gone are the days where the Philadelphia Eagles were rolling up to playoff games with dog masks as the underdogs. Listen, when they are playing in the playoffs this year, they will have a target on them instead of a dog mask. I will tell you what, this Eagles team is for real. They are a real threat for this NFC. I love the Eagles at -5.
All right. Moving on to my next game. And boy, that front seven. So Nick Bosa ended the game against the Rams with 14 quarterback pressures, 14 in one game. They sacked Matthew Stafford 7 times. They absolutely tore apart the Rams. From top to bottom, the Rams were outclassed, outmatched. And now they go and play the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have the worst offensive line in football. And the 49ers are second in the league in sacks. They're tied for 4th in pass rush win rate. And the guy that they're trying to get after is Baker Mayfield, who is going to throw 3 interceptions in this game because he's got no other option but to throw 3 interceptions. He is going to be murdered. His backup, Sam Darnold's going to come in. He's going to be murdered. They're going to go to their third-string quarterback. Guys, third-string quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker's going to get murdered. All quarterbacks in Carolina are going to be murdered by this defense. This defense looked so good last week. They're going to travel across the country. I don't care. Yeah, it's a long flight, but it's a later game, so it's not that dreaded 10 a.m. kickoff body time. The 49ers look great. I don't care if Jimmy G has a bad Jimmy G game. The Panthers may not score a point in this game. This might be our second shutout of the year. I love the 49ers to destroy the Panthers in this one.
Ben, do you have anything to say before I go on my rant?
Yeah, you look awfully comfortable for a fan of a team that lost to the Broncos. Anyway, listen, I've been given – if you listen to this podcast, you know I hate Josh McDaniels. I think that he's a horrible coach. I think there's one coach in the NFL that may be worse than him, and his name is Matt Rule. What is going on in Carolina? It's absolutely crazy. Kyle basically covered all the points. I'm not gonna do too much except just let you know Sam Darnold is injured. So they're just gonna get that free express pass straight to PJ Walker. I think both of them can't get killed, like you said. I like San Francisco -6.5.
I had forgotten about the Darnold injury because I haven't read anything about Darnold in forever. So
no one's read anything about the Panthers in forever.
If I see a headline that says Sam Darnold in it, I move on to the next story. So.
Hey, don't disrespect PJ Walker like that. That's the XFL MVP right there.
Fair enough.
He can come in there and light it up. But let's talk about my San Francisco 49ers. Who is the sack leader in the NFL right now? This is a trivia question for everybody. I don't need you to answer it. It's Nick Bosa. You know who's in the top 15? Samson Ebukam. You know what? He's got 3. 6 and 3. Just from 2 players on that team, they've got 9 sacks so far this year. That's pretty good. And, unbiased as just a football fan, this 49ers defense looks exceptional. And I think, especially against a Carolina team that has been lackluster, to say the least, on offense, it's going to be a cakewalk. I think San Fran's going to go out there. It's going to be 3 and outs almost every possession, and it's going to give the offense a lot of tries to get into the end zone. This is not going to be a close game.
No, not a close game. All right, and so we are done with the San Francisco 49ers. The team that the 49ers just whipped, though, has a game against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the 49ers have a great pass rush, and we saw how they dominated the Los Angeles Rams. Dallas Cowboys have a guy named Micah Parsons. They have a guy named Demarcus Lawrence. They have a defense that's pretty darn good, and I don't care what kind of game Cooper Rush has, much like with Jimmy Garoppolo. This defense is going to harass the Rams. The Rams offense is completely out of sync right now. They just lost their center for a number of weeks. An offensive line that was already really struggling is now shorthanded. I think Parsons gets 2.5 to 3 sacks in this game. The Cowboys are going to get 5 to 7 sacks. Wouldn't be surprised if they get a couple of interceptions. Look for Trayvon Diggs to continue to his incredible interception rate that he's from last year. He's already he's having a great year this year as well. The Cowboys offense is limited, but again, this Rams offense just doesn't look like they're going to be able to generate anything right now, and not against the Dallas defense that's playing pretty well. Cooper Rush 4-0 as a Cowboys starter. He goes to 5-0 as a Cowboys starter. I don't think the Cowboys just cover the spread. I think the Cowboys are going to go into LA and win that game. I'm not recommending you go for the money line, but you absolutely must take those 5.5 points.
And I think it's a stretch. I mean, it's not much of a stretch to say that the Dallas offense is having trouble putting stuff together, but Cooper Rush himself is playing phenomenally. The guy is 61% completion percentage, got over 700 yards. I think he has 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. His passer rating is great. He knows how to make the right throws. He's a system quarterback. He's a field general, and he does what needs to be done to get this team to succeed. And I think I can't really say it's going to be a competition between him and Dak, but he's making a really good case.
It's not going to be a competition between him and Dak.
He's making a good case, and I wouldn't be surprised.
He's not making a good case. He is very serviceable and he is playing well, but he handicaps the offense. Look, I like the Cowboys this game, but we need to stop with this Cooper Rush, maybe the guy that leads them to the playoffs, and Dak becomes his backup.
Cooper Rush is a young Tom Brady, and Dak Prescott is Drew Bledsoe. Cooper Rush is going to be the legacy of the NFL.
Let's not forget that when rosters were due to be cut down at the end of August, the Cowboys cut Cooper Rush. Anybody could have signed him. They brought him back to the practice squad. Nobody watched Cooper Rush in the preseason and said, I want that guy on my team. Let's just settle down on the Cooper Rush talk. He's fine. He's doing a great job. When the story of this season is written for the Dallas Cowboys, Cooper Rush gets a nice big fat chapter, but he does not become the starting quarterback in Dallas, and he doesn't become the starting quarterback anywhere else.
He's not. He is going to be a starter, and he's going to be a starter at one of those crap holes with a carnival with a QB carousel going around. I think he ends up at Indy. I think he has a horrible year, and then we all go. He's a backup.
He's never going to be he's not going to start for more than a year. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have that kind of talent.
Hey, we got to call Houston, because Houston has a track record of picking up guys that Brock Osweiler, have a couple good games.
Why would they dump Davis Mills for Cooper Rush? They're the same guy.
Because he's him.
Cooper Rush is the Trevor Siemian. It's the next Trevor Siemian, where it's a third string quarterback that will accidentally get himself into a starting role for a season, and then we all watch him play and go, that's a third string quarterback, and we should know his name because Kyle's going to be asking us on next week's podcast. That's who Cooper Rush is.
Cooper Rush is all right. He's all right. He's okay, and he's doing his thing. So
he's creating wins when we didn't think we thought the Cowboys season was going to be over when Dak went down. And it's not at all, because Cooper Rush is playing good football. But we see guys come in and they play 3 or 4 good games, He's not a quarterback who's going to lead you for a season to a postseason, but they don't need that from him right now. They just need him to play good football and let that defense lead the way. And that's what's been happening. And that's what will happen against the Rams. All right. So that is all 15 games for this next weekend. We now are going to be done with that and move on to our favorites, our top dogs, and our best money line plays of the week. Tommy, you won our game. You successfully got one third string quarterback right. Ben got none correct, so he will pick second, and I will pick third. So start us off with your favorite of the week.
I'll start it off quick. The favorite, Chiefs. It's not going to be a close game. I love that a lot. Chiefs are great. That's all I got to say.
Myself, nor Peter Griffin disagree with you at all. So that is indeed one of the smartest things anybody's ever said on this show. Your top dog of the week.
Top dog, I'm going to go with one of my own picks. I really like Detroit this week. I think they're going to come through and, blow away that +3.
All right. And your money line pick of the week.
And for my money line, I'm going to follow the underdog pick. And the Detroit money line is +131 right now. That's going to make you some good cash.
I actually saw Detroit at +136, so I'm going to give you +136.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. All right. Mr. O'Connell, your favorite of the week.
Yeah, my favorite is going to be Teddy Two Gloves himself and the Miami Dolphins at -3. I have USA Wager saying -3 right now, but I think we said -3.5 earlier.
We picked it at 3.5.
I'll take it at 3.5.
Okay.
Either way, it's a 7-point game.
Okay, so you've got the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
Your top dog of the week.
My top dog of the week. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers at +14. Let's just go with the excitement. Huh?
Hey, I love it.
That's bold.
I love it. All right, and your money line pick.
My money line pick is going to be the Seattle Seahawks over the New Orleans Saints +194.
Ooh, that's a sweet.
Yeah, that was top of my list because I think almost double money for a team that really should be no more than a 1 or 2 point underdog at most. So yeah, that's a good money line pick right there.
That's all a money line I'm okay to lose on, low-key.
My favorite of the week is the San Francisco 49ers, giving up 6.5 to the hapless Carolina Panthers. My top dog, I am going to roll with those Seattle Seahawks, just like you did. I like Seattle. And for my money line pick of the week, I am going to go with the Cleveland Browns at +117 against the Los Angeles Chargers. I just really like the way Nick Chubb is playing. I love I think that Jacoby Brissett's found a nice rhythm with that team. And it's plus money at home for a team that's playing decent football. I like it. So, gentlemen, we have completed the day's show. We have all of our picks in, and we now have an out music that kind of.
I can't hear you, man.
I'll turn that down. Sorry, I like to rock out. You can take the kid out of rock and roll, but you can't take the rock and roll out of the kid. So everybody, go and shop for the best lines. There are all kinds of sportsbooks out there, and not everybody has the best line. Don't just jump on the first line you see. Make sure it's the best. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
A lot of good games this
all right.
week.
All right. We've got 15 games to watch. You've got 15 picks to bet. We don't suggest betting all 15 of them, but we have given you the best, our favorites, and we hope you win some money. On behalf of USAWager.com, our sponsor, Ben O'Connell, coming to us from Chicago, Illinois, Tommy Birch in Springfield, Massachusetts. I am Kyle Garland in Denver, Colorado. Happy wagering, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Don't watch the Bears.